Hey, you're listening to The Chris or Jenny Show featuring Deej on WCOM-LP, Chapel Hill and Carborough.
Love that, Deej. Good evening, friends.
Good evening, frenemies and friendos.
Good evening, Deej.
Good evening, Chris. My much older stepsister, she has a daughter, my little step-niece.
Okay.
And my step-niece just had a baby, so I am a granduncle.
Hey! Congratulations.
Yeah, I didn't feel ready to be a granduncle. I feel a little young for that, but here we are, so...
And I've never heard the term step-niece before tonight.
Yeah, my stepsister's daughters.
Well, that's exciting. Yeah. Do we want to reveal any names at this point, or just...
I don't know if that's my business to reveal. There's a few too many permutations.
Let's hold off.
Yeah.
That's exciting, Deej.
It is, yeah. Makes me feel old, but I'm very happy for my my niece and for the baby.
As are we.
Congratulations to all of them and to me.
Fantastic. Well, welcome, folks. What a night. It's Carborough Plaza, what we call the Piggly Wiggly Plaza.
Yeah.
And what a guest tonight, Deej.
Our first in-studio guest in a year and a half.
With all three of us.
Yeah, with all three of us.
So welcome, Aaron Keck.
Hello. Now the pressure's on. I didn't realize that this was like the first post-pandemic show.
Well,
with the whole crew. So now I've been in here.
You've been in here.
With a guest.
And me phoning
Deej
in.
on the phone.
Right.
And I've been in here with me and Deej and a guest on the phone.
Oh, nice.
But tonight we have...
Complete the tripod.
We are just amping up the level here.
We are.
Nice.
All right. Aaron Keck is... someone I'm a huge fan of. Someone I'm a big fan of. Where are my notes?
What do you do? I can't remember. Do you sell insurance?
Not in English.
Okay.
He is an actual DJ, not named DJ.
Yeah.
For 97.9 The Hill WCHL Deej.
Local royalty.
Thanks.
I moved here about 10 years ago. Discovered you very early on the local station, 97.9. Good old-fashioned radio.
Yeah.
It was Ron Stutz in the morning, you in the afternoon.
Yep.
Ron recently retired after 40,000 years.
Yeah.
And
43,000 years, actually. Yeah.
I want to get into that a little bit, too, because I know you and I went back and forth about the medium. But anyway, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, man.
It's like my third time in this studio. And it's my first time in, wow, it's been like 7 years since I've been in here.
Yeah.
So this is great.
Well, just first impressions, compare and contrast an actual studio to our studio.
We've been talking off air about like, the huge contrast between the professional WCHL studio and this. You've got a bigger board
Not that
than
much different.
I do. It's pretty much the same, to be honest.
But it's bigger in the way that like Zach Morris had a bigger phone.
Like bigger, like old-fashioned bigger,
Yeah.
or bigger, more
I don't know.
sophisticated?
I prefer to think of our studio as like Juno's hamburger phone from that movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see that, yeah.
It works, but you gotta just remind everyone that you're on your hamburger phone.
Yeah.
You go on in the morning,
Yes.
then you sign off and someone else comes on. Does that someone else go in the exact same booth as you, or do different people have different booths at your station?
So the way that our station works is our morning show, which is what I do from 6 to 9, is live. Our afternoon news show, which is what I used to host, now Brighton McConnell hosts it, our news
Brighton.
director.
He's good.
He's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's from 3 to 6. That's live. Everything else is recorded in a separate studio, and it's
Okay.
recorded in advance. So
I got it. Okay.
all of those shows go out pre-recorded. We do have the capacity to run into the studio and pot down what we've got and pot up like the emergency, oh my God, there's a fire or whatever, but it's all pre-recorded.
We joke about the equipment all the time. I have no real problem with the equipment. The number one thing that's rough with this little tiny studio, there's a 5-minute gap. It's all the same chair.
Oh, yeah.
So luckily, we're the last one on at night live. And then the folks before me don't come in here live. But normally it's like in the early days, we'd be waiting out in the hallway.
Oh.
There's a 5-minute transition
Yes.
between that. And that's tough during the best of times. And then add in pandemic. And I'm not a germaphobe, but I'm not crazy about.
I'm not a germaphobe, but the people who hosted before us were dirty as the sinnest sin.
Chris brought sanitizer into the studio before March of 2020.
Yeah, oh, it's right there.
Let's
It's right
put it
there.
that way.
Yeah, no, I do.
Yeah.
I
Wait,
do.
you still have it? Is that pre-pandemic sanitizer? That's worth something.
That is
Sell that on eBay.
that's fresh sanitizer.
Okay.
Aaron. But
yeah, we do occasionally have that. Like Brighton will get off the air at 6, and then from 6 to 7 is Live and Local, which is our local music hour.
Yeah.
Now that I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I go to work at 5:15, which, by the way, thank you for inviting me to come in at 10 p.m. I am not only the first post-pandemic guest, I am going to be the tiredest guest you have ever. I might fall asleep halfway through, in which case I'm sorry. But now Live and Local is pre-recorded most of the time. But occasionally we'll have a live guest come in to play, or they've got a new album, we're playing tracks or something like that. And in those moments, Brighton has got to get done with his show and leave, and we've got to get in there with a musician, with instruments and possibly a band, and occasionally they bring drum kits which have to be set up. So I know the pain. Not very often.
I'm hearing you.
Yeah.
And by the way, after the show, we're gonna go have a beer at Orange County Social Club.
Oh,
so
awesome.
don't think you're leaving. It's gonna be a late night for you.
I'm emceeing tomorrow morning at Eno Fest, so
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, I gotta be there. That's the first thing that anyone has asked me to live MC since March of 2020. So
Nice.
I'm super excited about
Congrats.
it. Thank
Dumb
you.
question though, Aaron. So Eno Fest, that's the same thing as the festival for the Eno.
Yeah. and
Why did it's just a name
I
change?
don't know.
Okay.
When I talk about it on the air, I like bounce back and forth because I don't even know what they want me to say.
It's been the festival for the Eno for years.
Yes,
And now it's Eno, but it is in fact the same event.
it is the same event. Yeah.
Okay. Headliners.
Tan and Sober Gentlemen are playing.
Yes.
On Sunday.
Tan and Sober
Yeah.
Gentlemen.
We have already commiserated about that show at the Cradle in 2019, which I'm pretty sure everyone who went to
Yes.
went out and formed a band or is still. It's like the Velvet Underground of concerts because that was just so fantastic.
You may not remember this. I met you that night. It was the Be Loud Sophie Foundation.
Yes.
Awesome group, entity.
Yeah. Nonprofit.
Nonprofit.
Yeah.
Thank you. See,
Yep.
Deej, you see why we have a real DJ in the show?
Right.
And
They
and
raise money to fund a person who works with teenagers and adolescents and young adults at UNC hospitals.
See, that's what the professional would say. What I would say is they do great things.
They do great things.
I heard about the Tan and Sober Gentlemen, but that night I saw them. And going into that night, and it was a bunch of great bands, but once Tan and Sober played,
Yeah, that was it.
They just tore
It was
it up.
Tan and Sober, Old Ceremony, and Chatham County Line.
All bands I'm excited about.
All bands I'm excited about. And I have a lot of respect for the Old Ceremony after that show because there was no coming back from Tan and Sober Gentlemen. Like, they blew the roof off the place, and whoever followed was just, it's going to be an epic disaster. And Old Ceremony came out, and the first couple of songs, like, the audience was not listening at all. And they won them back. Like, by the time they got off the stage, like, yep, everyone was on board with Old Ceremony.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a hard
those
act to follow.
Those are two great bands, but following Tan and Sober is a bad idea.
Impossible.
Honestly.
Yeah.
If you can't decide if you want to go first or last, and Tan and Sober are there, go first.
Go first.
Wow.
And so, Aaron, you're a former professor?
Former right now, yeah.
Okay.
No, my background is academia. I have a PhD in political science. I came down here on a postdoc at Duke, which was super cool, but it was right at the time of the economic crash, like in 2008. So that lasted 2 years. Job market was terrible. I'd fallen in love with the area. It's the standard story. Like, you move to the Triangle and you fall in love and you never leave.
Yeah.
And at that point, I had already started doing improv with DSI Comedy, which is no more, but they were right across the street in Carrboro. But they did this piece on Ron's morning show called DSI Witness News, which was Weekend Update, but local, basically.
Oh, I love it.
Super fun. And I'd gotten to be the head writer for it in a year. And at the time my contract at Duke was up, they said, well, why don't you apply to be a news writer at the station? And it was a complete profession change at the age of 29, which is not necessarily advisable, but I was like, all right, sure, I'll do it. And then
that's a good point.
It just went from there. Yeah.
Totally different career change, but they kind of walked you into it or talked you into it, so to speak.
I had a friend who had told me about a year ago she had gotten into, a friend from grad school who had gotten into astrology just as a side hobby. And she told me that my Saturn return was coming and that signals a life transition. And I was like, oh, yeah, sure. And then like a year later it happened, which was very strange.
I hope
she was right about that.
I hope you've been tithing your salary to her since then.
I probably should.
She should get 30%.
I'll give
at
her,
least.
Yeah.
Man,
that's going to be a real disappointing check.
So radio does not. But you've made a career. I mean, you're
I love it.
10 years on the air.
Started in 2010 with WCHL. My first day on the job was the literal day after the NCAA investigators arrived in Chapel Hill to start investigating UNC. The next day was my first day on the job.
Wow.
And I always joked that my last day would be the day after they left, but now they're gone and I'm still here. So I'm in it to win it now.
Who's the winner?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You started out as the afternoon personality. Ron Stutz was kind of the legendary morning guy. And then as soon as Ron retired, you immediately took the morning spot.
Yep. There was a 2-week break in between, thank God, for Christmas and New Year's.
A 2-week break in between. But he takes the morning spot. And I understand the old-fashioned terrestrial radio model of kind of the morning drive time being the most popular time to be on the air. But in this day and age, in 2021, I just kind of assumed that there wouldn't be a huge difference between morning radio and afternoon radio. Not only that, now you got to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. So take me through that. Even today, it is that much more viable to be on morning than afternoon.
It definitely is, yeah. We do have a different audience. So a lot of the people that listened to me when I was on the afternoon show, they will say to me now, number one, congratulations on the promotion. Everyone to this day always says, congratulations on the promotion. WCHL never presented it as a promotion. Like, it was never talked about. It was just me moving over to the morning show, but it's so ingrained in the business and in the listenership that the morning drive time is the prime time. That's just standard procedure. And especially for WCHL, because Ron was the guy on the station for so long. Which
40
meant
years.
Which meant that the morning show was the show on the station for 40 years.
But
so people always say, congratulations on the promotion. It's so disappointing because I never get to listen to you anymore because I only ever listen in the afternoon. But more people listen in the morning.
Has the model changed, though, Aaron? Because especially right now, a lot of people working from home.
Yeah.
20 years from now, is it going to be as big of a deal as it is today?
I would think that it would, but strangely, it hasn't so much. I think people's habits are kind of ingrained. Streaming is a huge, huge deal, especially now during the pandemic. We were back in July or August of last year. We had been in pandemic mode for 4 months. We've been doing all of our interviews by phone, but we know that people listen to the radio in the car, and nobody was driving. The roads were empty, so are people listening? We don't know. And after a couple of months, we did an on-air call-in giveaway. We had to give away, I don't even know what it was, like tickets to something. Couldn't have been tickets to something. So what do you even give away in the pan? We're giving away hand sanitizer and toilet paper. That must have been what it
Oil
was.
changes, maybe?
Something like that. And going into it, I was like, I have no idea if anyone is going to call. Like, be caller number 3 and you're the winner. And the same number of people called as called before the pandemic. It was as if nothing changed. And what changed, I think, was people still wanted to listen to the show and they just stream now.
Yeah.
Which, that's the whole new world.
Interesting.
Cool.
Yeah. All of which is my way of saying I have no idea.
Sounds like our show.
Yeah.
So podcasting versus hosting a radio show. What are compare and contrast? What do you do that like can't happen in a podcast?
Oh, don't get me started on podcasts.
We are getting you
Yep,
started.
yep. started.
Oh my God.
Floodgates are open.
We are getting you started.
Honestly, I think the difference is quality. Like most podcasts are people who they listen to the radio and they say, oh, I can do this with no training. And they sit down with not like studio quality mics and they put a show together. And my theory with music, with podcasts, with radio, with television, with movies, with everything is that 95% of every genre is crap. And the goal is to find that 5% that's great. And that's true of podcasts as well. So that's my take on
interesting.
podcasts.
All right.
I don't think there's that much of a difference.
Yeah. The one thing I would say is podcasts, like, they can't be time sensitive because, like, you don't want to hear, like, about some news that happened 3 weeks ago nobody cares about anymore.
Yeah.
So do you have to kind of, like, make sure that what you're saying is timeless? Like, if somebody listens to it in 3 weeks, there's no, I don't care about that anymore or anything.
I don't care about it now. What are you talking about?
If even I ever
That's
did.
where I was going to go is because Aaron, Brighton, Nikki
Morse,
Nikki
yep.
Morse.
And
Like what
maybe
I
look
notice
at-
about WCHL, they just have their finger of the pulse of what's going on right now. That's a thing that you miss on podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do 2 podcasts.
That's where I was going to go. I was going to ask you.
I am the co-host of my friend Andy, who both of them started live in person, like 2 people sitting next to a mic, and both of my co-hosts have now moved to different time zones, so this must be a me thing.
Jerks.
My friend Andy, I know, right? My friend Andy wanted to do a music podcast. He looked at his music collection and he said, I've got all this great stuff from the 60s, 70s, the 90s, and the 21st century, and nothing from the 80s, so let's do an 80s music podcast. So we started
Nice.
doing that.
All right.
Andy hears the 80s. And then I had the idea, Rachel Shavitz, who used to be a town council member in Chapel Hill, she was also a film scholar who worked for Carolina Public Humanities, and we hit it off over movies. And I said, why don't we do a podcast where we go year by year through movie history, and we try to figure out what movie actually is the best picture of that year. Like, not which movie won the Oscars, but it's
Interesting.
like 1951 was 70 years ago. Which movie actually best stood the test of time? And go like year by year by year. So we've been doing that. It's
Cool.
the Moonlight Awards.
Any surprises?
Gone with the Wind is no longer even remotely in the conversation for 1939. That was fun. We got like a panel of film scholars. Like, we reached out to film scholars all over the country. We had them do a poll.
Wow.
No super surprises, but some super fun years.
What was your pick for 94? That's a controversial.
Oh,
year.
94. Well, we're only up to 56 right now. When we get to 94,
Check back in 4 months, Steve.
All right.
spoiler alert, the winner is going to be Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
If I had to choose, I would go with Forrest Gump. That's my favorite of the
course.
group.
I loved that movie, and it won Best Picture,
It
right?
won Best Picture. It's a great movie. Shawshank's also really
Yes.
good. Pulp Fiction, like, there's no wrong answer in there. But the winner will be Pulp Fiction. Almost.
What are the names of the podcasts?
The Moonlight Awards is the movie podcast.
And then the other one?
Andy Hears the 80s.
Where can folks find those?
Spotify,
Spotify.
iTunes, every place.
And then when and where do you record them? Just from your house at night?
I go into the studio when no one's
Yeah.
there and go into the station. It's great to have a radio station that you can just duck in during off hours.
Should I
and record
edit
a
this out of
podcast.
my podcast so people
That's
don't know
totally
that you're
fine,
doing that?
yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean they know I do it. But Rachel is now in New Zealand, so because she moved to New
Oh, my
Zealand
goodness.
a month before the pandemic, and then New
Wow.
Zealand turns out to be the best place in the
Yeah.
world
Yeah.
to be during the pandemic.
The utopia we all knew it always
She's
was.
been gloating about it ever since. It's also very nice because, we follow the local news here, but we don't necessarily know how far our news reaches. So I can talk to Rachel every couple of weeks and she'll tell me, oh man, the Nicole Hannah-Jones story has gotten all the way to New Zealand. People are talking about it here,
Of course.
which, by the way, has happened, in case
Yeah.
you're wondering.
Yeah.
It's tomorrow in New Zealand.
Yeah,
It is
something.
tomorrow in New Zealand.
Well, I think a lot of people are kind of like afraid of older movies. Is there like a year that people should check out anyway?
1957. That's the episode that we're about to do.
Okay.
It's got The Seventh Seal and Wild Strawberries, which are the two great Bergman movies. It's got 12 Angry Men, which is a classic. It's got a really good Fellini movie. What else? Bridge on the River Kwai. Paths of Glory, which is a really cool early Stanley Kubrick movie. There's like 8 movies that all could win.
Nice.
It's going to be a fun year.
Cool.
Last time I saw him, he was leaving. And I just went on, I believe that he'd get sad and he'd come back home. The Motor City can be so hard. And she'll hold him in her arms. And I just let him go. Last time I saw him, he was leaving. Oh no. And I let him go. Motor City is a big old place. Gets cold and desolate. And I love him so. I'll drive all night until I find him. I'm going to Detroit. I'm going to Detroit. I'm going to Detroit. Bring him home. What was the last thing I said? How can I make it up to him when I find that boy alone? Will he still be taken by me? How can I make him believe me? He's hearted. I said it enough. I'm in this time and I'll never make him sad again. I'll never make him sad
Henry Deej.
Beautiful.
Nice. So, by the way, tonight's songs, I always ask my guests to suggest music. So, again, Aaron, being a radio DJ and a podcaster, we just learned,
Heyo.
he did a top 100 local songs. That was Reese McHenry. That was one of the songs from that list.
One of the best. That last note just blows me
She
out.
just rips it
Yeah.
out. doesn't
Every
she?
single time. It's so good.
What do you call it? Garage rock?
Garage rock. Every single person compares her to Janis Joplin because she's got that like
Yeah.
gritty
Voice,
voice. Honestly, like it should be the other way around. Her voice is
Oh,
fantastic.
nice. I like
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
at Deej, I was looking
Yeah.
at his top 100. He does like a paragraph about the song
This
and
took
about the
so
band.
long to do.
It was awesome. And here's where people always ask, how does your show, the Chris or Jenny show? We do 2 a month and Jenny does 2 a month. And one way that we've tied them together, so we mainly talk on our show. Jenny mainly plays music. Tonight, if we get to 3 of your songs, I'll be surprised. But here's what my partner Jenny's going to do. She'll take that list and she'll pick 8 or 9 songs from
Oh, yeah.
it. She'll play them next Friday and talk about them. And it's like that's how we've started to kind of tie our shows together.
Yeah. Live and Local was a really cool project when it started. Like everything changed for the station in 2016 because we were up on Weaver Dairy Road and we moved to the mall.
Yep.
We'd just gotten new ownership and the new owners wanted to change our format because we were all progressive talk in the middle of the day and they wanted to scrap that and make us more of a music-oriented station, which we were all on board with as well. And in the context of doing all of those things simultaneously, I said, well, we always tell Chapel Hill and Carborough that we're a hyper-local station that serves Chapel Hill and Carborough. But then for the last 15 years, all of our middle-of-the-day programming has been progressive talk from around the nation.
Right.
And now we're going to go to a music format where it's going to be produced in-house, but the music is still going to be Mumford & Sons and Pearl Jam and U2 and whatever. Like, it's not really local stuff. Why don't we do a local music hour? And that's where this got started. But we started from nothing. Like, I knew nothing about local music at all.
Yeah.
I had a couple of songs and a couple of artists that I knew and nothing else. So I had to just build this library from nothing. There is so much local music.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And like last year we finally got to the point where I felt caught up enough that I could sit down and do the top 100. Kirk Ross, who is an amazing guy, great journalist, and also the frontman from Lud, which is a great local band. Yeah. I hit him up one time as we were starting to put this together, and I showed up with a list of just like all of the bands that I could come up with. Like, can you add to this list, Mr. Ross, please? I don't know what he was thinking when I did that, but
I'll post it to our Facebook group.
Yeah.
And I know Jenny's all over it. I mean, that's her specialty. Jenny is a curator of the playlist. But to get to 100, you probably had to go through hundreds.
A lot of crap to weed out.
Probably listened to, because that's the top 100, but Live and Local is an hour every weekday. So I've got a library with probably like 1,300 songs in it. And those are the songs that I've picked out of the probably 40,000 that I've listened to at this point over the years. Yeah.
Here's a name I didn't notice in the top 30. Maybe I missed it, but do you consider James Taylor?
If you start with the beginning of the countdown at number 100, some of the rules for the countdown, because there's so much great music, I had to figure out a way to narrow it down. And one of the rules was it had to be recorded here. It can't just be someone who lived in Chapel Hill and then moved away and then became a big famous star. So James Taylor is out. And actually, when we do the Live and Local Hour, I've never played James Taylor in the Live and Local Hour because we can get more local than that. I have played his brother, Alex Taylor. He's got some great stuff from the 70s.
Alex Taylor.
Yeah.
See, I like that.
Yeah.
Apologies to James, but I do like that you're...
James is great. James...
He's no Alex.
He's doing okay.
James will do okay without a plug from WCHL and also from WCO.
Yeah.
He'll be fine.
Now, speaking of great voices, you've got one. You've got a great voice.
It really
so
is
much.
good.
Did you have a great voice and get into radio, or did you kind of, when you started out, were you kind of like maybe like 1993 Conan O'Brien, and you had to kind of
a little bit, yeah.
develop your voice? How do you have a great radio voice? How does one get or acquire a great radio voice?
That's a good question.
I have no idea. People tell me I have a great radio voice. I had a speech impediment when I was in elementary school. I went through like a year of speech therapy just to get a couple of impediments out. And that was kind of successful. What actually happened was I got into high school and I was still this like shy, nerdy kid. And I joined the debate team. And from there, I got into forensics. From forensics, I got into theater. And I was into public speaking by the time I was done in high school, and I just kind of went on from there. When I started hosting the afternoon show, because I'd started public speaking doing debate, if you know anything at all about high school debate, it goes really, really fast. So when I go on the air for the first time in 2010, I'm talking like this, and people are like, you got to slow down.
Okay.
You know what no one's ever told me, Deej? That I have a good voice.
No?
Despite having a radio show.
You have a good voice.
Oh, stop. I remember listening to an interview from, you guys, of course, Jay Leno, legendary nighttime talk show host. And this is what I think of when I listen to you on the air. Jay Leno said this once. The key is you don't want to know less than the audience, but you also don't want to know way more than the audience.
You got to be relatable.
The key is to know about what the audience knows. Aaron kind of knows, like, you know, just as much as the audience, but almost kind of not too much, but not too little.
Yeah. One of my approaches to the show is I hate talk radio in general. Like, just I can't stand most of it. 95% of it. Every
By the way,
genre,
thanks
right?
for coming on our talk show.
Doors over there, buddy.
I don't even like my show half the time. It's fine. But like 5% of every genre is great. The other 95% is like, oh my God, this could be so much better. So with political talk radio, there are people who will just go into a studio and sit there for 4 hours and just like spout their opinions.
I hate
and I
that
just
too.
don't understand
Yeah.
it. So what I like to do is I will bring in people who I know are smart on whatever issue it is that we're talking about on a given day,
Yeah.
and just let them do the talking.
Right.
And I'm just there to say and facilitate.
Yeah.
I think is so much better. Right?
I feel like you navigate a guest well.
Thank you.
I know you have the mayor on all the time. She's not rerunning. Do you know why she's not rerunning?
8 years. It's
Any inside scoop?
she.
Come
just
on,
felt-
Aaron, give us some dirt.
She just felt like it was time. I was kind of sad. I was hoping she'd run for Senate someday. Maybe she will.
Doesn't want to be a dictator. That old excuse.
I thought Lydia Lavelle is an
I-
excellent mayor, and I'm disappointed she's leaving. And I thought Aaron might have some scoop.
Did kind of think that she would stick it out until the 203 building went up
Well,
on
she's not that.
Greensboro
I
Street.
mean, she's not. Oh,
No,
maybe
she's-
just a change of pace.
I think
or-
just a change of pace. Like I think in general, like once you've been an elected official for a certain number of minutes, you start to get sick of it. Is what I've gathered. But she's been mayor for 8 years. She was on the board of aldermen, now town council for was it 4 to 8 years before that. So she's been around.
She paid her dues.
Our buddy Bill just walked in, softball legend and videographer. We might need to mic him up here in a little bit. Would you get on a mic if we have one more? You want a mic?
I got nothing to say.
Neither do we, but that
That's
never
fine.
stopped
Neither
us.
do I. Yeah.
All right, welcome, Bill. I think he just wanted to come in out of the rain. Actually, we've never seen this man before in our life.
That's fair.
It's
Yeah.
raining really hard.
Aaron, you mentioned earlier, and I read that you were part of or were hosting a stand-up comedy festival.
When I did improv at DSI, they did the North Carolina Comedy Arts Festival every February, and
Is
that
that-
might have been that. That was stand up and improv and some sketch.
No, I know. I used to
so-
go to it. What was your role in that?
Whatever they needed me for. Occasionally, I would host. Sometimes I would, because I did improv, so sometimes I would perform. Sometimes I'd be up in the sound booth working the lights and the sound and everything.
Okay.
The very, very best improv show I've ever seen in my life was Magnet Theater's touring company from New York City came down for the festival, and they were at the Arts Center, and they just blew the roof off the place, and I was lucky enough to be running the booth for that show, so I got to black them out at exactly the right moment. It felt good.
I love the NC Comedy Arts Festival, and I don't think it's completely past us, right? It's not dead.
It's dead, but there are other festivals. Like when DSI closed, like the improv scene in Chapel Hill and in the Triangle has continued on. We've got the Pit down the road.
Yeah.
We've got
Neptunes.
Meddlesome up in Durham.
And stuff happens on campus.
Yeah, stuff happens on campus. So there are festivals that get organized.
The
Just not
NC
that
Comedy
particular
Arts
one.
Festival was awesome. I was big into it. I went to it 2 or 3 years in a row. Bob Lee, you were on an article.
Oh,
Bob
yeah,
Lee
Bob
says,
Lee.
when I read this, you're going to think they were talking about you, Deej.
Okay.
Here's what he said. Aaron Keck is the smartest guy in Chapel Hill.
Whoa.
That's what Bob Lee said. I'm not making that up.
Thanks, Bob.
And he also talked about you being part of some comedy festival. So maybe
It
that's
must have been that one, yeah.
One main difference between radio and podcast is on podcasts you can swear.
Yes.
At CHL you are governed by the FCC to some extent.
Theoretically, yes, that's true.
Do you find yourself having to bite your tongue? Are you used to it now?
Oh, I'm
How do
used to it now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm 100%
Plus,
used
it's
to
6
it
o'clock
now.
in the freaking morning.
Maybe just not enough to get you angry
There
yet?
is an element of the FCC probably isn't listening, and we probably can get away with things. And I'm saying probably, but we have audio clips in the blooper reel.
Actually, Aaron, I got a text right now from the FCC. No,
Oh, man.
I have 2 things to say about this. One, we had a guest on a previous show, Ed Porez, a buddy of mine, and he's Hispanic, and he made a really cool film called Holly Weird about a Hispanic guy trying to make it in Hollywood. Anyway, he came on here, and we told him you can't cuss, but we thought there might be a loophole if he cursed in Spanish. So my buddy just ripped into a tirade. It was the one episode you missed. Grateful Dave was with me.
That's a great
And he did
area.
a long cursing thing in Spanish, and the FCC has not contacted us.
Yeah.
So
So,
far, so good.
so
I
what do you
think in the pandemic, they've got other things to worry about.
They're
They're
not-
at home.
they're
I feel
not-
like live radio should be like a PG-13 movie. You get one as long as it's
one.
not a verb.
Exactly. Or even if it is, I mean, come on.
And then the other thing, I was listening to, I love Jim Gaffigan.
Yes.
who we talked about on our last episode
Yes.
because you saw him live.
He's on the
at-
Mount Rushmore.
and you saw him live
at
at
Coca Booth.
Coca Booth,
Yeah.
and they were talking to him about being a clean comedian.
Right.
And his whole bit was like, it's not so much that I'm a clean comedian. It's just that when you talk about bacon for half an hour, there's not a you don't need to drop that many f bombs.
Yeah.
It's cathartic.
The first time I am gonna tell this story on the air.
Do it, baby. Come on.
First time I ever hosted. So when Ron hosted the morning show, occasionally he would go on vacation, like you do.
Yep.
The first time I ever filled in for him on the air, he very helpfully recorded a couple of the features that
Yeah.
I played so that I could just hit the button and he would play those. One of those features was called the clean joke of the day.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
We still do it.
Yeah.
And this particular clean joke was something about some psychiatrist joke. It was a fine joke. The person told it and Ron laughed. And that should have been the end of it, but then he accidentally left the recording going for a good minute afterwards. And there was a very hasty, like, pot down commercial up. Anthony Wellman was our production guy, and he came in 15 minutes later, having driven in from work and listened to that, and just laughing hysterically
That's
at me.
awesome. All right, here we go. Squirrel nut zippers.
Like it.
Yeah, I'm a fan of these guys. Here we go.
In the afterlife, you could be headed for the serious strike. Now you make the scene all day, but tomorrow they'll be held to pay. The people listen attentively. I mean about future calamity. I used to think the idea was obsolete until I heard the old man stamping his feet. This is a place where eternally fire is applied to the body. Teeth are extruded and bones are ground and baked into cakes which are passed around. Oh, beauty, talent, fame, money, we find my top skill and brain. But all the things you tried to hide will be revealed on the other side. Make the furnace, yes, it is a surprise. Now the D and the A and the M and the N and the A and the T and the I O N. Lose your face, lose your name, then give it for a sort of flame. D and the A and the M and the N and the A and the T and the I O N. Lose your face, lose your name, then give it for a sort of flame.
Squirrel nut
woo!
zippers.
That album, Hot, the song off of that they were expecting to be the hit was Put a Lid on It, where Catherine Whalen had the vocal. And DJs just started playing Hell just in and of themselves, and then it just totally took off.
That's a hot
It
tune.
was the right move. I remember it.
Yeah. It's a good
And
song.
not just because I'm from Chapel Hill. Yeah.
I remember listening to it like on MTV when I was watching it on MTV when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Like
I was a
you would-
huge fan of them
Yeah.
and that song, and had no idea they were connected to here until Aaron brought that to my attention.
Yeah, it came out in 97, the year I graduated from high school.
I just saw Catherine Whalen play earlier this week on Monday. She's still around. She's with a band called Certain Seas. She just put out a solo album earlier this year, like all Billie Holiday covers. She's great. She's still hanging
cool.
around.
Nice.
You
Good.
know, you know who I found out is still alive? Shecky Green.
Was he ever alive?
I don't know. I just thought he like would have choked on a piece of meat at a restaurant in 1964. But yeah, he's like 100 and he's still alive.
Good for him.
Who
He's
is
just
that?
like an old Borscht Belt comedian from like the 50s.
I mean, when you got a name like Shecky Green, you have to be a Borscht Belt comedian
Yeah.
in the 50s. Even if you weren't alive in the 50s, you have to invent time travel, go there, and then
Make
go
it
to the
happen.
Catskills.
Yeah.
Can we get him on the show, Deej?
Yeah. Let's ask him.
Hurry.
I know
Yeah.
you love the Borscht Belt.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need to do it now.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
might,
Time
we,
is of the essence.
we
with
might need to
Shecky.
bump Reese Palmer to get him on
You can't bump Reese
I
Palmer. You
know.
got Reese Palmer. That's awesome.
in 4 weeks. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think. Have you ever had her in your
No,
studio?
yeah.
You get some good people. Though.
I do get some good people. Tan
That's-
Sober Gentlemen were great.
When we were talking about podcasts, my point was going to be: you interview all these people, you have all these great conversations. You could take that and make a podcast out of
Oh,
it.
we like all of those conversations are online. Like you can go to our website is chapelborough.com. You can go there and get like the full archive of all of my conversations going back years.
Chapelborough.com.
Yeah.
Chapelborough.com.
I'm not just saying this for the air. I'm on that website at least once a day.
Yeah.
I love chapelborough.com.
Yeah. Great local news.
Chapel Borough, that kind of implies that Chapel Hill and Carrboro are a single unit. Should they unite? Or pros and cons there?
Ooh, that was our April Fool's Day
Yes,
story
I remember that,
a few
yeah.
years back. We got this is when Mark Kleinschmidt and Mark Chilton were the mayors of Chapel Hill and Carrboro, and we got both of them in on it.
Yeah.
We had like a whole story with audio from both of them and great like sound bites, and we had 4 responses to that story when it super blew up throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
And there were 4 different responses. People initially fell for it and were really angry. People initially fell for it and were sad when they found out it was a joke.
Right.
People totally saw through it and were relieved, and people totally saw through it and like, oh, we should totally do that.
Yeah.
It was hilarious to watch the responses.
Yeah, all 4 squares of the Punnett Square
Yeah.
there, huh?
Yeah. Chapelborough also includes Hillsborough and Pittsboro.
Okay, fair
So,
enough.
yeah.
We'll allow it.
We got the like the whole all of the Orange County towns and Chatham County towns can all be combined together into one big Chapelborough.
Just say
Yeah.
borough, and it just
The borough,
lumps,
yeah.
lumps them right
Except
in.
Chapel Hill, which doesn't have a borough in it, so you got to have a chapel in there somewhere.
This is how long I've been hanging around this town. When I first moved here, I got a print newspaper at my house,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought it was tied to Chapel Borough,
It
possibly.
might have been. So that would have been before my time, and Chapelborough came into being during my time. So it might have been affiliated with the radio station.
It was a
but that would have
weekly.
been it.
Yeah.
I liked it. I like old things, some things that are old fashioned, and that was one of them.
When I was a little kid, I would listen to WCHL like to go to sleep. And on the radios, it would just stay on. There's no like Netflix. Are you still listening? It would just
Right.
play all night. And then I would like dream about the overnight DJs, and I'd wake up dreaming, and like I'm like, oh, that's just the morning show.
Those
So
must have been the weirdest dreams.
I had some strange dreams, and it made me a strange kid. I think that explains a lot.
That's fair. That's
Oh,
fair.
Deej.
I think it was on the AM radio maybe back
Oh
in
yeah,
the
that
late
was
80s.
1360. Yeah, we didn't
Yeah.
actually go to FM until 2012. I remember that day. I was there. We had to get a special FM tower, which is now down 15501 heading towards Pittsboro. We purchased that tower from a Liberty University
Wow.
in Lynchburg. So
Sure.
we rescued it from its original horrible owner. And
Oh,
we put it to
Liberty.
good use now.
Do you remember the controversy with the president of that school? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, which
Liberty.
one?
Yeah, exactly. Liberty's has some issues.
That's
but,
an OCSC conversation.
Yeah, we'll save that for OCSC. You know what? We forgot to say hello to our fans that are listening from all over the country. Let's say hello to friends that are listening from Lansing, Michigan.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
Birthplace of
State.
one Aaron Keck.
Birthplace of
Yeah,
me.
all right.
Finally getting up there in a couple of weeks. We're going back
Oh,
for a
congrats,
family
yeah.
reunion. First time in a year and a half.
Did you ever consider going to Michigan State, or was it always like I got to get?
Oh,
out
I
of
always
here?
kind of wanted to get away from Michigan State. I didn't get far from Michigan State. I went to college at this dinky little school called Hope in Western Michigan. So
Okay.
I was an hour and a half away, which was far enough.
Yeah.
I thought you went to Rutgers.
You
Oh,
can
I
go
went to
home.
grad school at Rutgers.
Okay.
You can go home and do your laundry,
I
but
could go home and do
Mom's
that was
not
what
bugging you.
happened. Yeah. Went home, did laundry, drove back. Mom and Dad were happy to see me every other week. It was great.
Here's how I grew up. When I was in college, I went home, but I had to do my parents' laundry.
Oh,
they
yeah,
got
none
you.
of that.
Hello to our friends in Huntington, West Virginia,
Hey guys.
where I'll be tomorrow. Burien, Washington, and Geneva, Illinois.
Commissioner.
We love
Other Aaron.
them. And, of course, Dead Horse, Alaska. Aaron, we are huge in the unincorporated area known as Dead Horse, Alaska.
Well, why wouldn't you be?
We're
Yeah.
number one. We're number
Yeah.
one in that market.
You're
There's
the
only
top
20
show.
people that live there, so 3 listen, and so we're number one.
That's
20,
fair.
22 polar bears.
That's all it takes. It's all about the percentage of viewership. That's what matters.
I feel like the new afternoon guy on your station, we talked about him earlier, Brighton, sounds a lot like you. Were they trying to find someone with a voice similar to yours?
No, not at all. Brighton was the news director, and he was the one in line to kind of take over that position. He's great, but there was no thinking about finding someone to sound exactly like me. In fact, there were a lot of conversations kind of behind the scenes there was a couple of months that we knew that Ron was retiring before the announcement was made, so we had plenty of time to plan. And there was a lot of talk about okay, so we've got these 2 shows. What can we do to make them better now that we're switching hosts? What do we keep? What do we switch? What do we tweak? What do we completely scrap?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of what do we completely scrap about the afternoon show that went on. Those were fun conversations to have, too. What's terrible about your show,
If
Aaron?
we could just get rid of Aaron. Wait, but we'll put him in the morning
It's
slot.
genius. It's
What do we do?
genius, I tell you.
Aaron-
Brilliant.
Aaron, are you ever in line at Taco Bell and you're like, I'll have a cheesy
No, I
gordita?
just stop you right there.
But somebody hears your voice and they don't recognize you when they see you,
Oh.
but they hear you and they're like,
That happened. It wasn't Taco Bell. It was Nuvo Taco in Durham.
Okay. I
So
love
it was
Nuvo
a taco
Taco.
place.
All right.
We went there to eat. We got up to the counter and we were ordering. And the woman said, "Okay, what's your name?" And I said, "Aaron." And she looked at me and said, "Aaron from the radio?" I was like, I feel so good
Made
right
it.
now.
That's
We got
awesome.
free guacamole out of it. It was
That's
fantastic.
yeah,
right.
that
The
keeps you
other
going.
fun moment like that was this was right after I started at WCHL. So this was very shortly after I had gone to grad school and gotten a PhD and taught for 2 years at Duke, and now I'm suddenly shifting into this whole new profession. My parents come down to visit. I took them up to last Friday's art walk in Hillsborough.
Oh, yeah. I've
Which
been
is a
there.
really cool thing
That's
to
a great
just
event.
walk around for an hour. And in that hour, literally every single building we went into, "Oh, hey, Aaron, how's it going?
Nice.
Oh, man, hey, Aaron, nice
Yeah.
to see you." If my parents had any doubt about my career change, I
Yeah.
think that assuaged any,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're very humble. Maybe you don't see yourself this way, but you are if celebrity is not the right word, whatever's right. I mean, you're a
Local royalty.
You're a local
Yeah.
royalty. In
Local
my
notable.
opinion. Yeah.
I like the level of celebrity I've got where occasionally someone will recognize me. That's a good level.
Well,
to
you
be
just
at.
said free guac.
Free guac
Yeah.
sometimes.
Come
yeah,
on.
it's fantastic.
I think you're kind of the Tony Hawk of local radio in as much as name a skateboarder, Tony
Tony
Hawk.
Hawk?
Name a
Yeah.
local radio guy, Aaron Keck.
Ooh, I
That's
like
all
being
got.
there.
So
That's
yeah.
That's the best compliment I've gotten.
Oh yeah.
Thank
Nice.
you.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Only on the
You're gonna
Chris or
make me not
Jenny
humble.
show. Feature. Yeah, don't get. Yeah, that's right.
We'll work on that.
It's too late. It's far
What,
too late.
what do you think Ron Stutz is doing right now, man? Because
Oh.
his personality and he was so tied into the radio, and then boom, he's gone. And I know there was like a farewell tour and all that. He said he'd be a guest on my show, so I'm hoping to make
Awesome.
that happen. But what do you think he's doing now? Is he bored?
Oh, he's sleeping in.
Yeah.
Yeah, he and I are both afternoon guys. Neither of us are morning people. So he worked for the station getting up early in the morning for 40 years. So now he is 100% taking advantage of the opportunity to sleep past 5 a.m.
Yeah.
What time do you have to get up on weekdays?
4:20 is when my alarm goes off.
Dank.
What time
My
do you
husband
go
hates it.
to What time do you go to bed at night?
Later than I should. It should be 10. It's usually closer to 11 or midnight. I love naps. Naps are great.
But you're telling me that it was worth the switch from afternoon radio to morning radio, even though you have to get up at 4:20 in the morning.
It's a promotion, Chris.
Oh my God.
This was a long conversation in the making. It's like, look, the morning drive time is where it's at. Ron's got that job as long as he wants it,
Yeah.
but when he steps down, I want it. And So it happened. It's
Oh
cool.
my goodness.
Aaron, any
This
social
rock house.
media to talk about or anything?
What do you
any
wanna plug?
projects you want to talk about?
Yeah.
Well, if you
Plugging.
want to listen to the Moonlight Awards podcast, it's on Spotify, themoonlightawards.com. We've got a website, at Aaron Keck on Twitter.
KECK.
K-E-C-K. This is Aaron Keck on Instagram because some other Aaron Keck got to me first. Yeah.
Bastard.
But I got the Twitter account, so it's all good.
We'll break his legs.
That's okay.
Is it a
he's,
he?
he's fine. I like being the most famous Aaron Keck. That's
You
good.
are.
Yeah.
So far.
I want to
Alright, well-
thank the local Tony Hawk who occasionally gets free guacamole, Aaron Keck. Thank you for being on the show.
Tony
brother.
Hawk with a freak walk.
Uh,
Thank you so much for having me. This was fantastic.
come back, man.
I will whenever
Come
you want me.
back. Deej, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
All right.
Aaron.
Thank you.
Get outta
Thanks,
here.
Bill.
Thanks, Bill. Good to see you.
Sleep well, everybody.
Too far, pretty pal. Come on, come on. I get up and